So you grew up in the Alberta neighborhood, right?
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
did.
What school did you go to?
I attended Highland Elementary, regular, and Grand High School.
Okay, and you participated in the busing project,
It was a desegregation of the Portland Public Schools.
and around what age did that start at?
I was 10 years old,
Hmm, 10.
fourth
So
grade. Fourth grade.
what was it
hmm
like?
Well, initially, um, it was challenging. It was kind of exciting, but um, my parents had made a decision um, that I should go to the school. And my brother and I were part of a group of children. And initially it was exciting, but then it was isolating. And it was almost to the point of where I didn't fit. Does that make any sense?
It does. It does make sense. So, but when you say you didn't fit, do you feel like you didn't fit in with the kids you were busing with to the schools, or the kids that you actually schooled with once you arrived?
All of it. Um, when I when I would go to school, the kids were different. I was told that I couldn't go to their church. I was told that I couldn't participate in their after school activities, couldn't go to the Y, wasn't permitted to swim, not included because I was different. But then at the end of the day, because it took us so long to commute home,
Mm-hmm.
that um, all of the other neighborhood kids who had played together, by the time I would get home, everyone had played, gone in to eat, and there was no one in the neighborhood to play with. And so all of my friends in the community, well, anyway, it was different. It was very, very, very different.
Do you think from the busing experience, like there was that isolating experience from the busing? Were there any positives that came from it? Did you have any type of positive feelings about the situation, or is that just the initial?
I took away um, a sense, or I learned, and I was motivated that people who looked like me or didn't look like me were not any different, that I wasn't any different, that I could learn, that there were children who struggled um, because, at some point we were told that we were less than,
Mm-hmm.
and I sat next to young white boys who I was smarter than
Mm-hmm.
and who I excelled, and like, they're not any smarter than me.
Yeah.
And so, um, even though, I was able to demystify some of the stuff that was given to me,
Mm-hmm.
I learned to um, to overcome, and to rise above, and to it was interesting because um, I was voted um, president of the class
Mm.
and being the one,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just always wanting to, step out and be the voice for folks who didn't have a voice, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
And
It sounds like you had the opportunity to gain a different sense of confidence from the experience. Did,
it go ahead.
with having gained that confidence, or at least demystifying some of the misconceptions about the differences between the races, do you feel like there was also negative effects that may have followed you throughout life because of the busing situation?
Negatives? Um, I don't know about negatives. I I think one of the things that when you say the negative,
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of the negative because
I would just say with you found a sense of confidence because of the demystifying, right?
hmm
But also in situations where you've been separated and separated because of your
isolated.
otherness. Yeah, because of your otherness, right?
Okay.
A lot of times, a different sense of confidence is affected. So, although you had that, I'm smart as you are. Were there other effects to where maybe you doubted yourself in some other aspects, or
Oh
that you
hell
felt?
no.
Yes.
Oh no. I became wire woman.
Right. So you felt like it was more of a situation where it just pushed you to continue to demystify and continue to break those barriers and overcome obstacles.
But then the other piece for me is because I had this information from my dad and my mother who said, you will,
Mm-hmm.
that it was something that was impressed upon me that I tried to impress, and I almost made a mistake with my son because I was told that under no circumstance would you ever fail in
Mm-hmm.
school. I mean, that was like um, a no brainer. And I remember one morning, and I'm going to jump, I don't mean to jump around here, but I remember my son was probably about 10 years old one morning, and he'll have to tell you this story, Isis. But one morning, he said he did not want to go to school. And I don't know how much it cost for me to repair the door of his bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
When I beat the door down, it got him out of the bathroom. I said, "Don't you ever,
Mm-hmm.
ever tell me that you never want to go to school again." Because let me tell you what my father told me and what his father told him. And the most important thing that we will have is an education. And that's something that they'll never, no one can take away from us. I never heard that come out of my son's mouth again. Yeah, he graduated from the university. He never told me he never wanted to go to school again.
Do you feel that your what you wanted for your son, or with the success that you wanted for him, or the dedication that you wanted him to exhibit academically, do you think that that's inspired by the hardships that you encountered with being in a school where you knew you had to be better, you knew you had to apply yourself more, and you knew what you had overcome in that situation, so you knew that there was nothing, well, I won't say nothing, but chances are he wasn't having as hard of a time at school as you had, and what you haven't done, and you knew he could.
But you know what? And I wanted him to have the exact same thing that I had without busing.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I ended up doing, because they talk about the integration separate but equal. The schools were different in the black community than in the white community. So what I ended up doing was I moved my family to the white community. And I wanted to raise my son in the school that had the international baccalaureate school.
Mm-hmm.
And so where my son Yusuf grew up with the kids in the neighborhood and went to the schools, and so he could get the academic plus have the neighborhood relationships as well. And so that's what I was able to afford to give Yusuf. And so he got it. He wasn't very pleased with it.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't because he was pushed really hard, and but he knew the benefits, if that makes sense.
What the skills that you feel like basically were honed by the busing system, as far as determination and elevated confidence and knowing your own abilities as an individual, how have those played into where you're at now in your life and the choices that you made career wise?
Well, well, I think that it is a sum total that it was a positive experience and leadership development from busing, that the isolation or the independence that I gained from being one of allowed me to feel confident in going forward in my leadership with the International Bunch of Electrical Workers. Excuse me, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. And that to become an electrician, to be one of the electricians, to be um, in the brotherhood, the honorary member of the brotherhood, and to feel comfortable being one of, I don't think I would have been as successful had I not gone through busing and had experienced the rigors of um, isolation and hostility that I experienced during my elementary years. It was horrible, almost as bad as my apprenticeship, but it was, yes.
So you were the second black woman to join the Local 48 IBEW, correct?
Yes.
And so with that situation, in comparison to the busing, so busing was once lauded as the most, or excuse me, busing in Portland was lauded as the most racist form of integration.
Yes.
With the apprenticeship opening up to people of color and women, would you say that there was a comparison with the busing experience and your apprenticeship journey due to the racism and the hostility and apparent sexism that goes on in the trade?
Yes, it was, I'm going to say, as equal to. And I was prepared for the treatment.
So, in being prepared for the treatment, how did you handle the treatment? Was that something that you just kind of accepted as a way of making it through the world, or did you fight back and press against that to let the status quo know that that was unacceptable?
It depended. Um, I chose my battles. There were some that I took head on,
Mm-hmm.
and then there were others where I kind of, let it fall by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
There were situations where I was removed from a property because, I put the boundaries out there. I had a reputation on the job site. I had a name. Everybody has a pet name,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Mine was Brown Sugar. And I told people that you can call me whatever you want to call me, but do not touch my body. That was my boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And someone made the mistake one day of pinching me on the butt.
And how did that turn out?
Well, not too well for him.
Uh-huh.
I almost sent him over the side of the Marriott hotel when we were building the Marriott. He almost went off the fourth floor.
How did that happen? I need more detail. What exactly did that look like?
Well, I was standing waiting for the lift,
Mm-hmm.
and someone pinched me on the rear end, and it was just a natural reaction to just come around. And I did. And at that point, we had no walls up yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so he almost went off the side of the fourth floor.
And so, okay, so I'm sure you didn't make that mistake again, right? So, did your nickname change to something else other than Brown Sugar after that? Or?
Yeah, the people, they said, okay, so the word on the street is definitely do not put your hands on her body.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But we can definitely call her Brown Sugar.
From a distance.
Yes.
Okay. So, with that situation, you felt that you had to fight back with your hands because it was you were protecting yourself. So, how do you feel like you protected yourself in this system of apprenticeship or being a member of a predominantly white male union? How do you feel like you protected yourself and been a voice for others during this time without using your hands? Like, what does that look like?
Well, I've had allies,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's been amazing because as many jerks as there have been, um, there's also been the folks who really wanted to see me be as successful or as good of an electrician that Brown Sugar or Donna Hammond could be.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had folks who would stand up, who would be that voice when I wasn't in the room, and say, you know what, she needs to. We need to be able to make sure that she.
Mm-hmm. So you did the busing to a white school outside of your neighborhood. But wasn't there at one point when you actually went to school with your neighborhood kids, like during the summer?
Yes, and I had made a decision um, that I wanted to come back and graduate with my in my neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
school, and
How old were you?
I was in the seventh grade. Gonna go in. Back then, it was K through 8,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wanted to graduate from the 8th grade from my neighborhood school, and my mother, bless her heart, she very smart,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Why don't you go to summer school and see how what kind of experience you have at summer school,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you do well at summer school, then we'll put you in for the remainder of the school year."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bless her heart. And so I did, and there were some skills that I did not have at summer school.
Mm-hmm.
And the skills were different in the different schools. There were at the white school, it was very competitive,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't in the neighborhood school, or it was a different competition. And so, what I didn't have was the skill set to miss several math problems or um, word problems on the board and to go sit my butt down and
Mm-hmm.
be one of the average kids. I didn't have that skill set.
Mm-hmm.
I would stay at the board and challenge everybody,
Mm-hmm.
which then gave me a reputation of being a
Know it all.
smart ass. Oh, she, yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah. Same connotation,
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
little nicer.
And so it didn't serve me well.
Mm-hmm.
After school, it was horrible. Every day there was fights that were being picked on me, and I was constantly because I didn't fit in,
Mm-hmm.
and I would walk home and um, no, I there would be groups of girls that were just like hurling stories at me or fighting. And I remember this one day getting in this fight and one of the neighbor woman coming out and accused me of being the bully. And I'm like, you have no idea what I just went through with, the four girls. But anyway, after that experience that summer, I said, Mother, Mom, Mama, send my black ass back out to, with those other kids. There's no way that I would not be successful. I would not have been able to, um, I could not go to my neighborhood school. I didn't fit.
So in one situation you needed the mental toughness, and then another one you had to be physically tough.
Yeah, yeah, and just it was isolating.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the black school, you probably learned how to throw that punch that almost sent them off the Marriott.
Yeah.
So you've had these situations in your life growing up due to the integration of the schools, and because you wanted to find a place where you belong, to where it kind of honed you to be a leader. It honed you to challenge, just challenge the understanding of others around you about your own capabilities. So how do you use the skill set that you have now to motivate others and to let them know about what they can do with their lives, or what they're their possibilities are.
Well, I like to ask people or drill down and find out what people, how people came to this intersection,
Mm-hmm.
how we met, and to find out what their core essence is, and essence and what what is their driving motivation, and to see if they have that in their belly,
Mm-hmm.
um, and to see if they're motivated by good family values or if it's by finances.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
If they're just here for the money, you know, okay, next.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're really here to make a difference for your family, for your community, for your soul,
Mm-hmm.
then we can work. We can work with you.
Right.
Uh huh.
Right.
So.
So you basically you've picked your battles,
Mhm.
and you got this basically like this inner barometer on people.
Mhm.
You can basically you can help people to flesh out their talents if that's something that's in them. But at the same time, when people just need to be avoided altogether, right?
Mhm.
So is that something that you got in your later years, or do you feel like that's something that was an inner knowing within you this whole time?
The whole time, it's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gift that I've always been able to discern and know, um, and been able to see through bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
With going through all those harsh situations, all that isolating and being ostracized, not belonging, how do you still maintain a sense of self and a sense of like just compassion for the world in general? Like how did you allow that to not harden you and not, hate people in general? Like how are you open to still building relationships?
Because I still have my connection to my God, my higher power, and I know that everything is through my God, and that we're all connected at some level, and that there is a bigger picture than what I can see.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to see the good in all people.
Right.
Hmm.
So with the busing, what was like the worst situation you went through while you were actually on the bus, or in transport? Like, was it the first day? Was there a situation that really stands out to you?
There were many days when our bus would be rocked. When we would drive up to the school and kids would be outside. I mean, we're talking kids rocking our bus, calling us the N word. And the one incident I think that was most traumatic for me was the day that I talked my mother into letting me wear my Easter suit to school.
Mm-hmm.
And on this particular day, and I was so pleased, I wore this, it was kind of a green knit sweater skirt outfit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so pleased to be sitting almost like right here, sitting. And after school, um, the window was down, and a raw egg came through the window and hit me in the chest. A raw egg over my new Easter outfit.
Right.
On this particular day, all of the black guys on the bus stopped the bus driver. And I'm going to say probably 15 of the black guys got off the bus and said, "We're not doing this shit anymore." And they got off. My brother was one of them. I got home and terrified. My dad came home from work and he asked me where my brother was. I'm like, I have no idea. and I didn't know if I would ever see my brother again. And I just know that they got off the bus and they said that we are not going to take this shit anymore. And they said we're fighting, and it was just horrible. It's but my brother made it home within 3 hours that day.
Mm-hmm. With the busing system, was there a lot of fear, a lot of fearful days?
It was, it was it was a mixed bag. It was you would drive through areas. I mean, where you just knew that, but it just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense that they didn't want us in the neighborhood, or they didn't want us at the school just based on our skin color. None
Mm-hmm.
of that made sense to me.